What's up, guys? It's Darren. When I first started in sales, something I used to hear all the time was that confidence is king, and that I needed to be confident in order to sell well. And while everyone understands theoretically what confidence is, the thing that I always was questioning was, well, how can people tell if I'm confident? What do I need to do to be confident for people to see that I am confident? And honestly, does it really matter that much? And yes, it does. It does actually matter that much. But unfortunately, it's not something you can just like fake it till you make it, like you may have heard in the past. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how you can become extremely confident and sell at a very high level. But first, let's talk about why it actually is important. See, one of the things that's pretty much universally acknowledged in sales is that people really do buy emotionally and justify logically. If you've been in sales for any amount of time, you've probably heard that phrase before. And if you've ever doubted that, by the way, it is entirely true. If you were to look around your room and see what are the things that you have, they're not things that you need. They're things that you want. Even if it is a need, like you need clothing, but do you need that brand of clothing? Do you need that much clothing? You do need food, but do you need that organic food or that whatever fancy food, or do you need soda or juice, or couldn't it just be water? And if it's water, couldn't it just be tap water? See, people spend money on things because they want it, not because they need it. You don't need it to taste better. You want it to taste better. You don't need to look a particular way. You want to look a particular way. Fundamentally, anything that people buy, there's some element of them wanting it. And while it is generally true that people do move away from pain and that they move towards pleasure, with sales, there's one particular emotion that is really important to pay attention to. And it's present in almost every sales interaction, and that is uncertainty. Even if they're certain that they want the product or service, they're not necessarily certain that they want your product or service versus a competitor's. There's always some element of uncertainty in a sales presentation. And the reason that that is so important is because there's a brilliant man by the name of Robert Cialdini. He wrote one of the most influential books that's ever existed as far as sales and marketing goes, and it's called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. I heavily recommend it. One of the points in Cialdini's book that he mentions is that when people are uncertain of what to do, they look to the reactions of others to inform them. And in a sales presentation, you probably don't have a whole crowd of other people around for them to look at and see how is everyone else reacting. The only person that they're looking at is you. They're looking to you to try and figure out what they should do, should they decide to buy or not. Are you the better option for them compared to your competitors or not? And when it comes to that particular key moment, another thing that's been found, there's a UCLA study done a while ago that's very interesting on communications. And what they found is that with communications, roughly only 7% of what's communicated to someone is through the words themselves that you choose to use. Now the other 93%, 55% of it is made up through body language, and 38% of it is made up through voice tone. So they're looking to you to try and figure out should they or should they not buy. And that is going to be based upon your confidence in your product or service and that it's a good fit for them. And what they're looking for, and this is what confidence means, is it's your body language and it's your voice tone and it's your reaction to when they push back against you. Now, don't get me confused though. I know that there's a lot of people out there that talk about you need to sit at this exact body angle and you need to have your head at exactly this tilt. And frankly, none of that stuff matters. Even the stuff where it's talking about voice tone, for the most part, it's not going to work. And the reason why is because if you deliver your closing line, if you deliver your presentation with the utmost confidence, the best body language, the strongest voice tone, and then they say, yeah, I think that's too much money, and then you suddenly crack, well, you're not going to make the sale. And that's what happens when you only train body language or voice tone. It's a facade. And when you are challenged, when you're put under pressure by the prospects, you will crumble. So if it's not just having good body language and having good voice tone, then what does it really mean to have confidence? And there's one particular moment in memory that stands out to me that just perfectly exemplifies what confidence and conviction really looks like. See, I'm from the Twin Cities here in Minnesota, the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And there's a restaurant in Minneapolis, place by the name of Muddy Waters. And a while ago, when I went there for one of the first times, I wasn't familiar with the restaurant. I asked, what's good here? And the waitress, she said to me, well, this is good, and the Muddy Burger, this is one that's really popular, everyone loves that one's great. Now I looked at the menu. I took a look at this menu, and I read the ingredients on this thing, and one of the main ingredients in the Muddy Burger is blue cheese. Now, if you have never had blue cheese, consider yourself a lucky soul, because that is some really nasty, nasty stuff. And if you like blue cheese, I'm sorry, but there's probably something wrong with your taste buds. So I looked at this menu, I looked at the ingredient list, I saw that it said blue cheese on there, and I said to this waitress, I said, yeah, I like burgers, but I'm just really not a big fan of blue cheese. That stuff always really it grosses me out. And without missing a beat, she looked at me and she said, yeah, nobody likes blue cheese, but every single person that comes in here and has this burger loves this burger. Honestly, you don't really taste the blue cheese that much. It's just super delicious. You should definitely try it anyways. Even if you don't like blue cheese, it's really good. You should get it. So I decided to try the Muddy Burger, and it turned out that it really was delicious. But the important thing to note here isn't that blue cheese can be good, because that's really weird and freaky that it can be, but it's that it's not about your body language. It's not about your voice tone. I don't remember how she asked me for the order exactly. I don't remember exactly what she said about like, oh, you should try this the first time that she said it. What I remember was her response to my response. And see, when you're in a sales interaction, almost every single time, they're going to say no the first time that you ask. They're going to have some sort of objection, some sort of concern. It is a rare unicorn that likes blue cheese or that says yes to a sale on the very first time that you ask. You are going to be challenged. And it's not about your body language and your voice tone when you ask for the order throughout the presentation. What it's about is it's at that moment at the very end when they're feeling uncertain and they say, I don't like blue cheese, how do you react? It is your response to their response that really makes the sale. So with your product or your service that you're selling, just think, if you really were that confident, that sure about your product or service, how would you react when someone challenged you and said that it was too much money or was going to take too much time or was too big or was it too small or is the wrong color or whatever the case may be? How would you react if you had full and complete confidence that you had the best thing in town? Now, if you're not familiar with who Ed Mylett is, he's a very, very successful businessman who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. And in an interview with him, he once said something very interesting that really stood out to me. He said that when you're selling something to someone, you don't need to make them believe. You need to make them believe that you believe. See, your response when you're challenged is what shows that. Your response when you're challenged is what makes them believe that you believe in your product or your service. So if you really did have the best thing in town, how would you react? What you need to do is you need to think about what are the common concerns or objections or responses that customers give you, and then think about, if I had the very best thing in town, the very best thing around, how would I respond? And you need to plan those responses, prepare those responses so you don't get caught off guard and you don't drop your body language and your voice tone when you're in the crucial moment in the actual sales presentation. Now, what I've found is that what works the best is not necessarily even just role-playing and rehearsing particular responses to common objections, but it's to actually develop the confidence. So how do you develop the confidence without faking it till you make it? And the answer is really simple, but it's also very difficult. The answer is you do need confidence. You do need to sell yourself on why is it that your product is great. That's the only way to really build true and authentic product conviction so that when you're challenged, when you're in those moments, your responses, they're automatic. You don't need to role play or rehearse body language or tonality because there is true fundamental belief that what you sell and what you represent is the right thing for them. So how do you do this? You pretend that you're the customer. Just think, if I was the customer, what is it that would be important to me? What would I be looking for? What are the factors that I would think about in making this decision? And then what you need to do is spend the time to really look at your own product and educate yourself on it and find all of the possible ways that your product could be the right decision for them. Sometimes you need to stretch this to really sell yourself, and that's okay. You still need to do it. So dig deep and really look, really try and sell yourself. If you don't think you have the very best product, think about it. Maybe you have a better price. Maybe you have a better delivery time. Maybe you have better reliability. Maybe you have better customer service or a better guarantee. Maybe you are a local company, so they're supporting the local community. And if you can't come up with anything from that, well, maybe the stats show that if they don't work with you, they'll never work with anyone and they'll continue suffering through whatever problem it is that they'll have if they don't get your product or service. So they're not choosing between you and a competitor, they're choosing between you and not doing it at all. You really have to sell yourself. When you sell yourself on why it is that every single person that you talk with should buy and would benefit from buying from you, that is when your sales results will skyrocket. And that's why confidence really does matter in sales. Now, if you think this video is going to help you become even just a little bit more confident in selling your product or service, then please do me a favor and hit the like button below because it helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. If you'd like more tips and tricks on how to grow your business and improve in your sales, then also feel free to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I'm releasing new videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and comment them below and I'll reply as soon as I can. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.